I believe that every Canadian should own a home if they can. Okay, home ownership is what creates the most net worth for every Canadian. But what I find is that once you get into a home, like you said, sometimes you're like the Joneses, you're thinking too big, and it's either going to be your biggest opportunity or your biggest loss, right? And it's our biggest investment, right? So I like to, through this book, we show them how to turn it from a liability into an asset.
All right, David, I appreciate this, my man. Thanks for joining me.
I appreciate it.
We were just talking really quickly off air here, and you mentioned you got into mechanical engineering after high school, which is cool for me because first and foremost, we've known each other from high school days.
That's right.
So big shout out to Martin Grove Collegiate, being Martin Grove Bears, corner of Martin Grove and Eglinton. A lot of, I'm sure,
Orange and Brown.
Exactly, 100%. I'm sure a lot of our alumni are watching. We're going to be talking a lot about specifically the Smith maneuver that I really want to know more about myself. So as my viewers and listeners, they're going to be learning with me. It's funny because I started this podcast 3 years ago to say that people are going to be able to be a fly on the wall.
Of course.
Right? I was telling Yas, my cinematographer here, the same thing yesterday, that the conversations that I have on the podcast allow people to either see the journey or just be a fly on the wall, right? And learn. And so we're going to be talking about that. But you said off air, you after high school, you studied to be a mechanical engineer. You love cars. You did that for 10 years, and then you got into the world of finance. So now you have your own company. You got Limitless Solutions, independent mortgage broker, author. We're going to talk about how we can get people the books, and you're going to give me all the links. And I'll make sure all the team put all that up there. So congratulations on all the success, man. Like I'd like to see that period. But when it's somebody that I knew back in high school, like that's really cool. So again, congratulations on that. Why the financial world after 10 years of mechanical, like cars, engineering?
I know.
I didn't see the pinky ring. I know, right?
Exactly.
And then into the financing world. Why?
You know what? People always ask that question, right? And it's when I was working at Magna International, I enjoyed what I did, loved it, traveled the world, on their dime and stuff like that. It was amazing. But then I realized I didn't have control over my time. I hated the fact when, weekends weren't mine. You know what I mean? If I wanted to take a vacation, the boss could say no, right? Forget about how I feel. The boss says, forget it, right? So, because I was in a higher tax bracket, I needed tax write-offs and stuff like that. So I started to invest in real estate. That's how I kind of got involved with the Smith maneuver at that time and stuff like that. And then it just ballooned from there. And
so you started to invest in real estate. I want to talk about that as well, because I didn't even know that you invested yourself, which is awesome, because I love the fact that when people are giving advice, especially someone who's written a book, you have thousands of clients that you've dealt with. It's nice to know that you do it yourself.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? Because we've all met the 18-year-old, 22-year-old life coach that just hasn't had enough experience, right? And just hasn't really been slapped around a lot. And they're the ones now that are giving the advice. So I love the fact that you did that yourself. But did you start to invest into real estate and then say, okay, I want to help people with mortgages now? Is that kind of how that?
Yeah, so, I went down the road of investing in real estate, had some successes, had some losses, more losses than successes. But what I realized at the end of the journey, because I was investing in multiple things. I was investing like gold, Forex, like anything that would make money.
Right.
That's where my focus was. When things happened with all my other investments, what I realized was real estate was tried and true. It was boring at first. I'm like, they don't want to do that.
I always look at the wall behind me because we had somebody come in and paint it for us. I was like, it's like watching paint dry.
Exactly.
It's quite boring. But I love that you said that it was tried, tested, and true.
And reliable.
What specifically were you investing in real estate?
I was doing assignments at that time.
Okay. So you were picking up assignments?
Exactly.
Okay,
cool.
No,
so I was purchasing from the developer.
Right.
And then assigning
Flipping it.
Exactly.
Great. Okay, awesome.
So, you got to wait 2-3 years sometimes, depending on the developer. Your money just stays there, your deposit's there, and then you got to sell it on not the open market, but, Kijiji and all these other places and stuff like that. So, it was a journey. I'm just like, oh man, that money could probably be doing something else. But then when I lost money here, lost money there.
And so where did you lose money? Like, how did you lose money? Because I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Successes are awesome.
Yes.
I also think that people can learn from other people's mistakes, right? This way they don't have to hit their head against the wall.
Yeah.
Where did you lose money in the world? Was it specifically in assignments?
No.
Okay.
No, nothing to do with real estate.
Okay.
Just investing in other people's dreams and promises without collateral.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
And without control. Right? So those are two. If you don't have collateral and you don't have control.
100%. 100%. In the world of assignments, I want to go back to that for a second because myself and my team, we help a little over 200 buyers when it comes to new builds. Okay, now we primarily do condos. Was yours condos or homes? Condos. Okay, so same thing. I always tell people that when you're investing into a new build condo, I personally like using the assignment as a security blanket, and so and there's nothing wrong with your strategy as well, which is you were buying them to solely assign them, right? The only thought that I always have when it comes to that, if the market doesn't appreciate to where you thought it was going to go and to how much you needed it to actually appreciate so you can make the money that you were thinking that you were going to make, you might get yourself into a little bit of trouble. I always advise that, hey, look, if you're going to be investing into a new build, start with the mindset that you're actually going to hold on to it.
Of course.
Because you and I know that the longer that you actually hold on to the real estate,
of course,
the higher the return is, which is a nice thing about real estate, right? So now, when do you start writing books? Like, this is so cool. House Rich, Cash Poor, No More. I want to talk about that and master your mortgage for financial freedom. I love both of them.
That one's the Smith Maneuver one that I'll talk to about, and this one is my book.
Okay, so I'm going to hold off on the Smith Maneuver because we're going to talk a lot about that.
Yes.
House Rich, Cash Poor. I really like the title because I feel first-time home buyers.
Yes.
They start to try to keep up with the Joneses. They try to keep up with the Rhodds and the Sings in Brampton, I always say, right? They always try to keep up with the competition where they're buying bigger homes than they actually need to, rather than stomaching a lower priced home and then investing the rest.
Of course.
Is that the thought process with this book, or did I leave?
I think you read the whole book.
Okay, well, I haven't, and I definitely will. I'm going to make sure I get
this is your copy, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
Signed
I appreciate
and everything.
It. Is it signed?
Yeah, everything, man.
All right, to Jazz from the bottom, and now we are here. I love that. Rextal all the way. Truly inspired what you're doing. I really appreciate that. I mean, Jazz is established in Rextal, so you know that, so, and I appreciate that, David. Thank you so much.
No problem.
I'm also going to get a couple of copies of your book as well, because I want to give them away to my listeners and my viewers. So that's House Rich, Cash Poor. We we covered that. Was there any? What else can readers expect from the book?
So basically, House Rich, Cash Poor is as what you said. I mean, I believe that every Canadian should own a home if they can. Okay, home ownership is what creates the most net worth for every Canadian. But what I find is that once you get into a home, like you said, sometimes you're like the Joneses. You're thinking too big, and it's either going to be your biggest opportunity or your biggest loss, right? And it's our biggest investment, right? So I like to, through this book, we show them how to turn it from a liability into an asset.
Okay, so this is awesome. We are going to go deeper into this because yesterday I'm speaking with Yas here, who's behind the camera, and he's 21 years old, and he had a great question. He's like, Jazz, should I just continue renting and the income, because I pay him a lot of money and too much sometimes, I think. Should I take that and then go buy an income property, rent it out, and that becomes an asset? Or should I buy my principal? Should I go buy and own my principal residence? I had my thoughts around it. My viewers and listeners have heard me speak about that a lot. What's your thoughts around that?
To me, it doesn't matter if it's your principal or if it's an investment. The fact that you own real estate and you're going to be a part of that appreciating curve, that's the bottom line. So whether like a lot of my clients come to me and they say, look, Toronto market is too hot, it's too expensive. Okay, buy in Montreal, buy in Ottawa, buy in Woodstock, all these different places, and then rent your condo or your house in downtown Toronto, right? If that's what makes sense. Right?
What were you seeing on average on those assignments, by the way? I want to go back there for a second, right? Because from when you were buying them, just on average, like what were you seeing in dollars when it comes to appreciation?
So 60,000, 70,000 over a 2-3 year period.
And you wrote some deposits.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't have to deal with any tenants. You didn't have to close on it. You even being an independent mortgage broker.
Yes.
You actually didn't even have to close on it.
No.
Okay. So before now we go into the Smith maneuver, really quickly, talk about what your company does for clients when it comes to just the independent mortgage broker side. Like, because I take it you help people with like regular mortgages as well.
Of course.
And what else? Because I know there's a long list on the back of your card here. Not everybody can see it. Talk a little bit about your services, man.
Okay. So the name of the company, the brokerage, is Limitless Solutions Financial Group. And yeah, we are a registered Canadian brokerage. So yes, we do A to Z mortgages, right? So a lot of mortgage companies stop there. What we do is we actually want to, like, when you get to do a mortgage with us, you're just starting to build a relationship. Whereas with, other companies, sometimes that's where the relationship starts and ends. Our desire is to help our clients to create financial freedom, financial wealth, generational wealth, turn that over.
Through real estate.
Through real estate.
Continue.
Right? So we don't dabble in mutual funds and stuff like that. We actually want to take a client, get them into a home. Once they're into the home, we want to show them how to implement. We have a strategy. It's called like the SCAP method, right? So it's like SCAP, right? So S means first we want to get you into a home. We want to start educating you on money matters, right? Financial literacy, things that we don't learn in school and stuff like that. How to build generational wealth. What some of these strategies on what you need to do. Then we go to the C, which is cash flow. So cash flow, like I said, is how do you turn this liability of a house into an asset? How do you make this house work for you? Because a lot of people, they have tons of equity in their house, which we call it debt equity, because they're not doing anything with it. What we've been taught is pay down your mortgage as fast as possible, and that's it, right? But what we show them is a different way. Okay, after we make sure that you have a good cash flow plan, and you're staying afloat in your house, and you have at least $1 of cash flow a month, up, upwards, but a minimum $1, right? Then we show you, okay, how to start pulling out that equity, right? How to invest it in assignments, private lending, real estate, into your own business. But we primarily focus on real estate, right?
I love when it comes to independent mortgage brokers because A, you do all the legwork.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You then take my application and shop it for me.
Of course.
I'm in.
You sit back.
I sit back. I'm in the real estate business. I know some of the lenders in the mortgage on the mortgage side, and I've been doing this for 16 years.
Yeah.
I don't know all of them.
Yeah.
I always quote there's probably about in Canada 477 lenders.
Yeah.
I remember reading that, but that was 4 or 5 years ago. So it's probably north of 500, 550 lenders. You have all the access to them, right? So you're going to take my application and essentially have all those lenders.
Yeah.
You're not going to have every single one of them, but
course
you're going to narrow it down and have them fight for my business, which I love. But the next stage of what you spoke about, to me as an investor, yes, I'm a real estate broker for 16 years, but I mean, primarily I'm an investor first. I'm looking for opportunities. I need someone like you who's looking at my portfolio from a 30,000-foot view.
Exactly.
I was laughing with Laura and Stephen yesterday, and I was saying, look, anyone who gets their mortgage broker license yesterday can get you a mortgage.
Of course.
They can get you your first one.
Yeah.
The second one gets a little tougher for them. When you start to get into 3
and 4,
15,
exactly.
82,
exactly.
Now it's a totally different ball game,
Definitely.
right? So how do you help someone who's very ambitious and wants to say they have 5 doors already, let's just say. What are some options for them? If you can kind of just go think about some experiences that you've had with some of your past clients where I have more than 5 doors now myself personally. How would you help me get my 11th, 12th door?
Okay, so it's all about how you structure your fears up front, and that's the problem I see a lot of investors do. They just go out there and do it on their own, which is fine. Everyone has a right, but if you structure it right, certain lenders have certain different requirements, right? Certain lenders don't limit how much doors you have. They just limit how much doors you have with them. Right. So if you go to those lenders first, then you can. So it's a whole plan. So a part of the process of getting your mortgage is sitting down with you and saying, Jazz, 5 years from here, if we're talking, tell me what that looks like.
Right.
Getting that you want 5 doors. I want a building. I want whatever. It doesn't matter. Let's plan it out. How do we execute and get there? right? And then we put all the lenders in place. Like you said, we have access to a lot of lenders. So we put all the lenders in place that are going to help us on year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up.
I love it.
And then as a backup, like we're private lenders. So we have, a lot of investors.
So you have access to the capital as well.
For sure.
Love it.
Right? So, sometimes we have to get into a situation where we're in a competitive market. So we have to go in hot. So we might go in with a private lender and say, okay, let's just close it up. We got the property under contract. Now we're in there. The stress is out of the way. Let's, refinance it and get you with the best lender and stuff like that. So
Look, you said private lending as well, which obviously the interest rates are going to be a little bit higher,
course.
right? So I like to kind of keep my episodes very, very timely in
Yes.
terms of, and sorry, I should say the exact opposite. I like to keep them evergreen, right?
Yep.
So because if we talk too much about rate, but generally I've always seen private lending rates be the same for the 16 years that I've been in the business. They're usually for around 8 to 10%.
That's right.
Am I right when I say that, David?
Yep.
Okay. Now, what do you say to somebody, okay, because we're in the business.
Yes.
And we're investors, as I mentioned, to someone who says, well, 8%, that's too high.
Of course.
What do you say to somebody that?
What's the opportunity cost?
Exactly.
Right? Well, don't look at the 8 to 10%. You're renting it out. What is the appreciation in that area? Like if you're going to make 25%, you got tenants renting it out and stuff like that. Your cash flow is $1,000 a month. Pay the 10% for a few months, a year if you have to. Because a lot of people sometimes they'll go into private lending because they want to, maybe extend, make it more profitable. So add a secondary suite, finish the basement, do all these different things with it, right? Which the traditional lenders are not okay with that, right? So do the private, make it more cash flow, make it more, like a prospective opportunity for you.
Okay. The main reason I started this podcast
Yep.
was for, at that time, my 16-year-old niece.
Okay.
Okay, she's 18 now.
Yep.
And the reason I mention that is because, shout out to Simran, and my other nieces and nephew. I love you guys just as much.
All of them the same.
And my 2 boys. Can't forget those 2. Is because I wanted to be a positive voice in her ear.
Of course.
What also came out of that, though, is I wanted to make sure any of the guests that I have, we speak at a level that even a 16-year-old child,
Can understand.
for lack of a better word, can understand.
Yeah.
The Smith maneuver.
Okay.
Walk us through the Smith maneuver, because you've done this hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And you've talked about it hundreds of times.
Yes.
And so we sometimes go through it really quickly.
Of
I do
course.
the same thing as well,
Yes.
okay? And so, but I really want to walk someone through, and actually now I just thought about it in the corner of my eye, I think of Yas, because he is my 21-year-old kid now.
All right.
He's my younger brother, and so he's asking always a lot of questions,
Yep.
which is awesome, because we're always talking to him now
Of
as
course.
well, right? So to the 16-year-old kid as well as to Yas, let's talk about the Smith maneuver.
Okay. So the Smith maneuver is basically a debt conversion strategy. So in the United States, when you get a mortgage, your mortgage is tax deductible. That doesn't happen in Canada. In Canada, based on some stats that I was reading at, we're in like about a 43% tax bracket, right? So that means the average household that makes 90,000 and stuff like that, 46% of that is going towards taxes. So the only way, and then you have life that's left after the 46% is taken away, right? So the only way to reduce your taxes, or one
Sorry,
of the
did you say life or wife? 'Cause
Life,
both. Okay, I
Oh,
wasn't sure.
and both
'Cause,
probably,
I was going to say both. Yeah, because my wife takes some of that too. Yeah, go on.
right? So one of the ways to reduce your tax burden legally is by having more tax deductions, right? So that's signed off by the CRA. I'm not an accountant. They should go fact check that with their accountant, okay? So what the Smith maneuver does is it allows you to turn your mortgage, your Canadian mortgage, and make it tax deductible. So how do we do that? The CRA says that as long as you're borrowing with the expectation of earning income, making money on this borrowing, you can deduct the interest of that.
Okay.
So what we do with our clients is we talked about having that initial meeting and setting them up on the right mortgages. So we put them into the right mortgage that allows them to have a line of credit, right?
Okay.
So let's just say one of your clients came to me and they want to invest in the new condos with you.
Can we
Yep.
work with certain numbers, for
Okay,
example?
sure.
So let's just say we're buying a home, a building, a condo. Let's call it $1 million is the purchase price.
Okay.
Okay, for argument's sake. And I need to get a $500,000 mortgage.
Okay.
Or let's actually go the other way. Let's say it's an $800,000 mortgage because I have 20% down.
Okay.
So if I have an $800,000 mortgage, work off that example for me.
Okay, so you have have a $800,000 mortgage, $1 million property, so you need $200,000. So ideally, you'd pull that $200,000 from your line of credit on your principal residence. Okay. Now, let's just say, the interest rate is 3% or whatever. So when you pull that 200,000 out to put down on this condo and get an $800,000 mortgage, that percentage that you paid on that $200,000 is now tax deductible because you bought another property with the expectation of renting it out, making cash flow, making profits, and blah, blah, blah. So by doing that, now you're going to get to write off that 3% interest. And writing off that 3% interest looks different for every client, right? So for the self-employed, that means you don't have to pay back as much income or as taxes. For the person that's working 9 to 5, that means that you've already paid X amount of dollars to the tax man, and now you get that reduced. So we've been seeing checks anywhere from $5,000 to maybe $10,000 a year per client, and it can be less. It can be $1,000 depending on your income. Right. So, but that's extra money that you didn't have before. Every single year coming to you in a check. So what we tell our clients to do, this is what the Smith maneuver teaches us, is take that tax refund and put it on your mortgage as a prepayment.
Okay.
So now what that does on your principal residence. So I'm just gonna go back.
Yep.
So we have the 200,000 invested in this rental property. We're getting tax deductions, so we're getting checks every single year of anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 a year, tax refund. We're taking that tax refund and we're dumping that back on our principal residence that we took the $200,000 from, right? So the way how we usually set up these mortgages, we'll have a $200,000 line of credit, maybe like a $400,000 mortgage. So as we get this 10 grand back from our tax refund, for example, we're putting it on that mortgage. From 400, it goes down to 390. But now that frees up another 10 grand essentially on the line of credit.
Got it.
So as we continue to do this, right, and as your rental property is gaining profits, let's say your rental property is giving you $1,000 a month cash flow, let's just say, right? So that's 12 grand a year. Let's take that 12 grand and dump it again on your principal residence mortgage. So again, your mortgage is going down and down and down. But as your mortgage goes down, your line of credit goes higher and higher. So now we can take more money from that line of credit and buy another rental property.
Got it. So it just frees up more equity and you're actually getting that money from the CRA.
Exactly. So essentially what happens after that, after you do this for a couple of years, is your mortgage is next to nothing.
The mortgage on the principal residence.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's down, but you have this huge line of credit, right? So let's just say, again, $1 million property, you have a huge line of credit of maybe 650,000, right? And now that's on 3, 4, 5 properties. Right? So now the cash flow coming from that property, the tax return coming from that property, all of it is all tax deductible. You're putting it on your mortgage. It's just a cycle. So now your entire mortgage is tax deductible.
Now, do all lenders offer the home equity line of credit?
No.
Okay. So the importance of sitting down with you
Yes.
and figuring this out from the start is where really all the juice is.
Of course.
Got it.
Of course.
How long does that whole process in terms of the consultation, that first initial consultation day?
Yeah.
Because I think some people are just like, oh my God, this is going to take me 6 years. Let me not
course.
exaggerate. This is going to take me 6 hours to do.
Yeah.
I know it's not 6 hours. I also
Yeah.
know it's not 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Where is it?
So the initial consultation is an hour.
Okay.
Let's just figure out your goals, where you want to be and stuff like that. In that first hour, we can figure out exactly what you're going to need, what kind of structure you're going to need. Of course, now we're going to do some fact finding. Next meeting, send us all your information. We'll work with different lenders, see which lender is going to help us, orchestrate what we want to do for you. Right. So I would say the first meeting is an hour, and then the other meeting is like an implementation meeting.
Okay, and in today's day and age, the meeting can be done on Zoom, online, all that.
90% of them is virtual.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You're a good-looking guy, but some
Thanks.
people might not want to drive on the other across the city.
course.
You did for me today. I really
Yeah.
appreciate
No
that. And then the actual application, you're going to help them do it
course.
and walk
Yeah.
them through it.
It's easy. It's online. You do the application. You upload your documents to our secure portal. We have the conversation. We make sure that you understand it's an educational process, right?
Continue.
Yeah. So we don't pull any triggers, any plugs until you understand what you're getting into. We're able to show you the benefits up front.
and it's all turnkey. I mean, look. I
turnkey.
mean, for anybody who's been in my wheelhouse and in my clients, my friends, my family, they know where my real estate company shines. REC Canada, along with my business partner, my VP Laura, my director Bobby, director Tyler, and our 51 agents. Where we think and where we like to think we shine is there's a massive sign behind your head there that says removing friction, and it's a reminder for us to remove the friction in the process of doing business with us, which includes making sure that any investment, purchase, or sale is done in a turnkey way.
Of course.
And so I love the fact that, again, everything is it seems like all under one umbrella.
Yeah.
And you know what? I just remember, like, something that you said earlier really just rung true to me, buddy, because you said, we really only do real estate.
Yeah.
And I like that. You know, it's not like you're taking in not that there's anything wrong with the Bitcoins and the cryptos and all that stuff. Like,
sure.
mazel tov to everybody who's trying all these, right? But you focus primarily and only on real estate.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why, right? So when you're pulling equity out of your home, because that's what we try to tell people to use as a primary investment. You can use your own capital and stuff like that, but pull the equity out. So let's just say you own a home in Scarborough. I mean, we haven't seen in Toronto the market do a drastic dip or anything like that. Right, the real estate markets, it's been steady. So, but all we're doing is diversifying. So instead of having all of your equity in one property, why not take out 200,000, 400,000, 100,000, buy some condos. If you want to do the assignment or you want to do the buy and hold, do that.
100%.
We put a lot of our investors in private lending.
Okay.
Right? So every month they're getting some
returns.
Some returns.
Yeah.
Right? So, but all we're really doing is diversifying your real estate. It's still in that same asset class. We didn't take it out of this asset class and put it in the stock market, right?
It's all in the same.
All in the same asset class. We're just diversifying.
Now, David, in all your experience that you've been, in all the years that you've been doing this, brother, why do people say no to you?
It's
to that plan.
It's the understanding. It's real, and that's why I said the first piece is education, because it's relearning what's taught. What's taught is pay down your mortgage as fast as possible, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm showing you is an accelerated way on how you can because using this method does pay down your mortgage faster. We're seeing people shave 10 years off their mortgage by just doing some of these strategies. But on top of that, now you're leveraging your money. Your money is lasting longer for you, and it's being left behind for future generations as well.
Creating that generational wealth. You're paying down your principal residence, and you're actually investing in an income property. My parents, when they came here in 1973, they walked into the Blue Bank, and the Blue Bank told them to pay off that mortgage as quickly as possible. But when they did, they said, make sure that you now refinance it. But they didn't even tell them to buy more real estate. What they did is they just said, buy more things. And I wish that they did get more educated about investing into real estate. My mom did the best that she possibly could, renting out the basement apartments and all that kind of stuff, but never really took the next step into the world of income properties. And so I want to thank you once again, A, for giving me a copy of my own book, B, for you to take the drive over here and give us the time that you gave talking about what you do, how you help buyers, sellers, and investors, and then also speaking specifically about the Smith maneuver, man. I always like to leave my viewers and listeners with a tip, but I want you to do the honor today. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I never told you
I know, right? You're trying to surprise me here.
Yes, we never did tell them, right? So you leave our viewers and listeners with a tip today.
You know what? Get the advice. Go out there, surround yourself with mentors. Listen to podcasts, YouTube, indulge yourself. There's opportunities out there for everyone. Everyone keeps asking, should I buy real estate today? Should I wait? Is there a crash coming? No, buy it today. Buy it today. Invest in real estate today. We've seen the curve. We've seen the testimonials, the case studies. It is what it is, right? So that's my tip. Get around people if you're fearful. Get around experts like Jazz. Google people. I'm available. And just get that information and execute, really.
All the links, all your contact info is in the comments and the descriptions and all that kind of stuff. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, man. All right, take care.